Good morning and welcome to Avenue's webinar on cloud strategies for business license administration. We're very happy to have you join us this morning. We have a large and diverse audience with small, medium, and large California cities represented. We are recording this webinar today, and as a participant, you will receive the slide deck and video recording following the presentation. There will be a Q&A session at the end. Please note there's a Q&A button on your screen to submit a question, and we would welcome those. I'd now like to introduce our Avenue team. I'm Joe Arbios, client executive based in Sacramento, California, and I work with our prospective customers in California and current customers in California. Christy Cato is our Vice President of Tax Administration. Christy has over 25 years of tax administration experience and leads our national team of auditors and administrators serving over 700 tax administration clients. We also have Laura Burnett. She is our client success manager based in Southern California. Laura has more than 20 years experience working with clients and serves our customers in California for business license administration and many of our other tax administration services. Our agenda today is to talk about Avenue as a partner. We'll give you a little brief overview of who Avenue is, the challenges solved with our tax administration services. We'll cover online portals for taxpayers and city staff. We'll also cover a couple of use cases to give you examples of our services and their success. And then we'll move into the Q&A session. Now at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Laura.
Thank you, Joe, and good morning, everyone. Well, I want to introduce our company, Avenue Insights and Analytics. We are the leading provider of integrated revenue administration, managed services, and revenue enhancement recovery solutions to local governments across the United States. As you'll see on this map, the red dots represent our office locations, with several here in California, as well as the blue dots representing our clients across the country. We have a lot of experience with tax administration services. We have more than 400 clients nationwide and over 100 years of executive leadership implementing these solutions. We use payment portals for businesses to file, and the typical implementation takes about 90 days. We recently had an implementation in Rolling Hills Estates, and you can see the quote from Mike Whitehead. He was very happy with our services. He was looking for a white glove treatment of his businesses, and that is what he got. While we're going to talk today about business license administration, primarily, we also want you to know that if you have any other fee or license or tax that you would like for us to collect, this portal is also able to do that. So anything that you see on the screen, plus anything new that you want to bring to our attention, we would be glad to use this administration service to help you with. And finally, I'm just going to touch on the reasons that cities have been coming to us to sign up for tax administration services. During the pandemic, when the city halls were closing, they needed online portals for payments rather than having people walk in the door. Staffing became very limited, and they turned to us to handle this for them. There's also a lot of credit card fees involved with doing this work. And when you work with a portal administration solution like we have, that gets eliminated. There's basically no costs for the city. It all can be put into this administration. So now we are going to talk to Christy Cato, and she is going to tell us all about it.
Hey guys, thank you so much for participating today. So I'm Christy Cato, and I'm actually based out of our Birmingham, Alabama office. I manage a group of people here that's what we do is we wake up every day and we are tax administrators and a lot of tax collectors. So it's been fun. I think we've got a little experience in a little bit of everything. And that one screen that you just saw had tons of different taxes that we have experience in. So don't just think about Avenue as a business license or user utility tax or franchise fees. If it's a tax, if it's a fee, if it's a transaction processed, then more than likely we have the capability to assist you and help you out in that area. But it is a cycle. There is an administration cycle for a full service administration. And what we do for many of our clients, many of our clients will take 100% of what we do, and others will pick and choose and say, okay, I really want to be more involved in this step and I want you guys in this other step. So we can become a full extension of your team and do the back office work, or we can be definitely much more involved. We do go through a very rigorous account setup and maintenance process when we implement a new tax or a new service for our clients, because if it's an existing client and we add on a business license and later down the road we add user utility tax or another type of tax, we go through that same process. And that's just the data, basically the data conversion, making sure we have the correct rates set up, the correct penalties and interest, the fee schedules, all of those things. We go through that process and we do outreach. What we really believe in is we believe in simplifying in education and taxpayer outreach. We feel like if we educate these businesses up front, especially if it's a new tax or you're in a growing community and you have a lot of new business and activity going on, we believe if you teach them correctly, at least and you're communicating on a consistent basis, and you make it simple, you're going to hear that a couple of times from me today. Taxpayer education and outreach, simplification, and convenient, you're going to have a higher rate of tax compliance. And so we do spend a little extra time on that type of activity when going through the initial setup, and then it's a go forward. And we'll talk about that a little more on the next slide. We handle everything from sending out new tax notices, reminders, whether it is, you know, the snail mail or email or text or any type of electronic notification. There are some rules that actually require that many documents might need to be mailed via USPS. And I don't know if you guys have been watching like we have, the notification that the USPS for the month of October, there's going to be a 30% decline, or they're anticipating a 30% slowdown in mail delivery, and now we're right up on the holidays, and so we do as much electronic as we can. Then you go in through a filings and payment process. It can be monthly, quarterly, or annually. So it's how we set up validation of the funds, and then once that happens, it goes into a system of record. And the nice thing about our service is you do not have to maintain a system of record. The data is yours, but once we do the conversion, there's actually no need for you to have your IT group upload and maintain that on a routine basis. We do keep that and house it for you, and you have access to all of that information 24/7. And then you'll have the analytical reports, and we'll touch on those in a few minutes. And then taxpayer compliance, and that's where we step in and we handle the non-pays, the underpays, the late pays, or a combination of all, or any type of anomaly payments, meaning that they just fall outside of the norm. If this taxpayer consistently is around an average of $2,500 a month, or $10,000 a year, and for whatever reason this month's tax return was $5,000 or this year's was $10,000, those are flagged so that an analyst can actually review those and determine, look at what happened. And we do reach out to those businesses, and we might ask a few questions, and they're like, nope, we expanded our store, whatever the case might be. And we've had some that says, no, that was an error, and so that prevents refunds down the road. We talk about full service administration, and we'll get more in detail. The taxpayer communication is key. We do utilize, technology to automate this and automate the notifications. For business license, we do customize, well, all of our taxes we customize, but for business license particularly, with whatever schedule, business type, anything that applies to them specifically, we are setting that up and going ahead and customizing based on how it's already set up and the information that they've provided. We notify them. We actually also make outbound phone calls. So what we do is when we start working for a client, we don't want there to be a delay in revenue, and we want to make sure that although you mail people notices and you email them notices or you send it in any other method, they can still, kind of, trash it or not listen to their voicemail. I mean, not open their email or whatnot. So we do also reach out. What we do is we'll identify your top tier revenue producers and your local businesses. And we do have an automated dialer, an interactive voice response system where we'll do some notifications to those businesses. And then certain segments, we are calling them individually saying, hey, have you gotten your tax returns in the mail? Have you logged online? Just a reminder, yada, yada, yada. This has changed, and provide that taxpayer assistance. Another piece of that is the inbound phone calls. So we do have a staff of call center representatives that are available during our normal business hours for the West Coast and the East Coast. And we even cover that Arizona time zone where they don't recognize daylight savings time, which always confuses me. But we make sure we're covered for those time zones as well. And we're fielding questions from how do I set up an account? How do I remit taxes? How do I calculate this? How do I file online? All of the basic questions. About 80% of all the questions we receive can be answered with a FAQs document or a knowledge base. And the taxpayers have access to that information, but people like that reassurance that they've talked to a person and they're doing the right thing. So we have the people here, answering those phone calls. And we also have a call center that we work with on the West Coast as well to help with some of the overflow and things like that. So that the forms, payment, and processing, I talked about, we do the data capture and the data entry. We still have people that use paper checks. I'm not one of those. I'm having to order checkbooks now because I have no checks, and I actually needed one last week. And I was like, well, I haven't ordered checks in like a year and a half. I haven't needed them. So I do everything electronically, but we're moving toward that. But we still have about 20% of the base that want to send in a paper form and paper check. And of course, we're not going to turn away any form of money. We will process it. We're going to, once those payments are filed online, we do go through a reconciliation process to make sure that, number one, there are taxpayers that will file and they may just forget to submit the payment, or the credit card didn't go through, or the ACH debit didn't go through. So that reconciliation process will catch all of those and do the follow-up notification. We are scanning and depositing all checks via remote deposit capture. We don't have someone, having a bank bag and lugging it down to the local bank branch to make a deposit. We do that all electronically. There is an occasion where we have to do that if we get a check with a lot of noise in the background, like if there's images or things like that. So what that does for you guys is those banking fees and banks, I don't know, your personal bank statements don't look like this, but if you've ever looked at your bank statements from your lockbox department or a wholesale lockbox department, especially if you have high volumes like cities and municipalities have, they nickel and dime you for everything. You're paying like a daily fee. You're paying for your online access. You're paying for every deposit. It's cents here, 5 cents here, 2 cents here. It adds up. Those fees are all absorbed. That's something you don't have to worry about. It's something that's covered. Laura did mention the credit card fees. Now there's a lot of little nickel and dime fees that apply there, and we also kind of absorb those fees. What will apply though is there is a convenience fee that taxpayers will be subject to if they choose to use a credit card, and it's generally like 2.8 to 3%. We don't set that. It's really Visa and MasterCard that will set those rates. And with taxes, a lot of our clients just can't afford to absorb that fee, so it is passed on the taxpayer. We do have some clients that choose to say, hey, we'll cover that 2% or 2.5 to 3% fee, and we can facilitate either one of those methods. But for the most part, your monthly high volume transactions, businesses are not using credit cards. It's more on like an annual, we do see credit card use more on an annual return. And we also use a credit card as an option for payment plans and collecting delinquent taxes. So we handle the merchant account setup that interfaces with the online file and pay system that we will set up as well. We go through a very rigorous reconciliation process. We balance down to the penny. We do not believe in having anything out of balance. And, there have been times where we've had staff here, you accountants and people that are in accounting know that it's a lot easier to find, a $10,000 out of balance situation than it is for a 7 cents out of balance. But we do balance down to the penny. We don't believe in having any of that carried over, because these aren't our funds, they're your funds that we're processing. So we do that. We distribute funds 12 to 15 times per month because our service, we want to make it easy for the taxpayer. So if we have the big box store, like for example, a Walmart is already remitting to us for hundreds and hundreds of locations throughout the United States. With our system, they log in one time, and they upload their return, and it's one payment. And then once we receive that payment, we will disperse those funds and apply them accordingly. And we disperse 12 to 15 times per month. The reason we do, you say, well, why not every day you're holding our money? No, we're not holding it. So the tax due dates, I know that if there's less items to reconcile on my bank statement, I'm happier about that. And I don't really want to see these $1 and $2 transactions. And I know in my personal bank account, I get so irritated at my husband sometimes for using the card in a vending machine. I'm like, I've got 10 of these $1.50 transactions. Quit doing that. And so it's the same thing. So we don't want to transfer a $5 distribution on the first week of the month. But so typically during the first week is 2 or 3 times a week. During the due dates, it is every day. So you're getting funds every day. So everything that we process up until 7 p.m. Will be distributed to our clients the next day. We are audited, so it used to be called a SAS 70 audit. So everything we do and all of our processes that we talk about, basically this is making sure that we're doing what we say, and whatever our control objectives are, it is tested, because it is a level 2 SOC 2 audit that we undergo annually. And for the last 15 years, we've had absolutely no exceptions on that audit. So we are managing the funds timely, accurately, and consistently. So so now I'm going to talk about taxpayer compliance. This is where, we spend a lot of time as tax collectors and tax administrators. And I know that your staff probably does as well, because not everyone does the right thing. Businesses get in trouble and they can't afford to pay. So we figure the 80-20 rule. I'm not saying you have a 20% delinquency rate, but typically 20% of the base is going to, cause 80% of your work. But we are set up the system where we are invoicing. So if they underpay any particular tax, business license, by any amount, if they don't pay, we are sending out the notifications. We'll calculate the penalties and interest, all of that stuff automatically. These are generated automatically. There's nothing that you would have to do on your end to have these created and mailed. Part of what we do as well for the compliance process with business license, even if they pay 100% and they do not include like their certifications, whether it's a contractor license or they have to have authorization for certain types of businesses, we do set that up customized for each particular client, because there's, we have one client, well, we've got multiple ones, but I'm just thinking of one off the top of my head that's in California, and daycares are a big deal in that area. They want to make sure that daycares do not get through the licensing process without a very review from the city. So we have that on hold until the daycare facility can provide the documentation that's required and our client releases it. So that's part of the compliance process as well. And if there's anything that they forget to submit throughout the process, they will get an automatic notification that, hey, we've gotten your payment, we've processed it, but it didn't include A, B, and C. Then we have the agings process, and then also telephone outreach, because again, people can ignore mail. And and if it's a tax bill, they might just do that. And it's courtesy reminders. Initially, it's, hey, is your payment might have crossed in the mail? Did you forget, to pay it this month? Kind of what happened. For the most part, and you have the slow payers, there's businesses that are just going to pay slow. They pay, but they pay late every single month. And, that happens as well. So we are reaching out to those businesses because we really feel like, the sooner you can jump on those accounts and work them, it's more collectible dollars, because the longer that ages, the less collectible it becomes. And, we really believe that $1 in our pocket and in your pocket today is much more valuable than $1, a week from now, or 2 weeks from now, or 3 months from now. We will facilitate payment plans as required by law and get them set up if they need to make payment arrangements and all of that good stuff. So once all of this happens, you're like, well, you just said I didn't have to have a system of record, and you don't. You don't have to have a system of record, because we have an interactive government services portal that you can log in and get all of this detailed information. So all of the information that I'm talking about, the payments, the forms, all of that is available online, via username and password, and there's no license fee. We're not gonna say, oh, you've added 5 license, so you owe me these annual license fees. Nope, there's no license fees. It's unlimited users, and it is permissions based, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And that would also include your delinquency reports, your reconciliations, and all of that information. I touched on this a little bit, and I was using this as an example, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. Cities might not have this as an issue as much, but if you have any taxes that are due to certain funds, for example, Board of Education, a health department, a jail, fire department, road and bridge, park and rec, just wherever it might be earmarked and allocated to be dispersed, we can do that distribution on your behalf so that you do not have to do it. For example, we have a county, we split a penny 26 different ways. You talk about somebody, everyone got a piece of the pie in that tax. They sure did. So I know that we send it to like 10 fire departments, 4 jail funds, the Board of Education, and it all happens just automatically, and the history is there. So that county does not have to worry about, all of these different departments. Hey, where's my tax funds? And because we're audited, and the state examiners will actually use our audit reports when they're actually going out and doing like a public records audit on counties. I know in Alabama, counties are a division of the state. They use that audit, so it definitely, and they validate it that way. So there's nothing for the counties to do on their part, because they know they work with Avenue. Most of the big firms already have this audit report on file, so there's nothing for our clients to do as far as that goes. So that's pretty fun. We have a couple of jurisdictions that they've actually used our reports and the information and us as a collector to get bonds. And we have a couple that the bond, they said, okay, we're going to approve this, but we want Avenue to do the disbursement of that bond. So there are some where we're paying Bank of New York direct on behalf of our clients and provide them with the reports. So online portals, again, this gets back to convenient, easy, simple. Make it easy, people are going to do it. Because I know that can be a procrastinator on certain things. We typically, it's human nature, if it is something difficult or a laborsome task, or if it's just too complicated, too many steps, we put it to the side, and we might get some of the easier things done first. And so with online file and pay, we've really made it simple for businesses, tax preparers, and taxpayers to file. It's a cloud-based system, and it is set up uniquely for each taxpayer. And we're only going to go over a couple of screens here today, just kind of show you how it's easy, but it's username and password. And remember, I referenced the initial setup process earlier. If it's a business that's already been in your database, we are customizing that profile. So essentially, their first time filing, they're going to validate it. They're going to, because I know for me, when I go to register for, I don't know, online access to my credit card account or online access to some account, I'm like, why do I have to put in my address over again? That you already know it. This is irritating. So we're there just validating it, and they're not having to enter that same information over. And if there's any missing information that is a required field, we can pick up some missing information during this process. But once it's done, and they just have to edit it. Another thing that's really nice about this system is for tax preparers. So if you have tax preparers that's doing this for 100 businesses. They have one username and password, and they have profiles for those 100 clients, and they can auto upload for those 100 clients, or they can enter in individually, but they're not having to log on 100 separate times for that filing. So that makes that really nice. And for our business accounts, they can actually file and pay for multiple locations through the portal as well. And they really like that because they're not having to go to different systems and solutions for those filings. This is just a sample screen of Tax Online, and this application is actually used for, we actually administer sales tax in some states where it can be outsourced. It doesn't have to be administered by the Department of Revenue. And then so we do the hotel, motel, transient occupancy tax will be done on this system, user utility fees, business license, but you'll see you can select, it's very simple. You go through a selection process. Create a return, go to a selections process, you're going to prepare it, and then payment, and then file. You'll see below they can select a jurisdiction. We used an example here, Laguna Beach, who actually just will be utilizing their very new client, I think our newest business license administration client we have. So we use them as an example. You can drop down and see the jurisdictions, choose the tax, choose the rates, and then you'll see like Palo Alto is one of our clients in Rolling Hills Estate. So they could see a very long list, and this gets back, if they're in multiple locations, they can do all of this at one time. And they can also have access to their history on their returns. So once these returns are filed and paid, they can go in the next month and take a look at those. One nice thing about this as well is they can warehouse payments. So that means if they're going on vacation and their business license renewal is due on the 31st of January, and they're like, oh, I'm going to be, in Iceland. I just use that because the lady that's next to me, she just got back from Iceland, and you don't really think about a lot of people going there, but it's beautiful. She loved it. And she was in a very remote location. So if they're going to be on vacation and they can't get to their information and they want to avoid any late penalties and they just want peace of mind that it's taken care of, they can warehouse it. And they can file it, warehouse it, and then and choose the due date. And when it gets time for that, it just automatically comes through. So it's really, I would say probably half of our businesses, even just as normal business, they warehouse their payments. And they just want to get it taken care of. We do, and then also I want to mention we do take ACH debit, ACH credit, credit cards, and another convenience about our online file and pay system for those individuals. And my mom is one of those that are still, and you've got a lot of mom and pop businesses still out there that are not comfortable with sending an ACH debit or putting their debit card information or checking card information online. They can still do all of the filing, which is great because it's doing all of the automatic calculations and it's calculating the tax due. And so you're reducing potential errors significantly, but they can print out a confirmation and it tells them the amount to write their check for with a mailing address, stick that confirmation along with a handwritten check, send it in. Once we receive it, we reconcile it to that paper check, and all of that information is automatically imported. So it's a much easier process for them and us, and it just allows us to more efficiently handle those paper payments that still come in. Again, that's about the online filing system is 24/7, multiple locations, multiple payment options, and then the automated reminders when it gets closer to their due date. The registration assistance, we do develop online FAQs. Generally, we have a base of what the frequently asked questions will be for each of our clients. But there are some that have a few different, differences that we will develop custom FAQs and utilize those and provide that to taxpayers. And you'll see some quotes on this screen. And again, we're tax collectors, and who likes to pay taxes? I mean, I don't, but it's just part of business, and we have to have them to run our cities and provide services. But there's been so many taxpayers, I get these every day where they've had service where they're like, oh my gosh, this person was so great. Thank you so much for helping us. And these are some quotes from actually real businesses where they're sending notes notes of thank you and appreciation to our staff. So I feel like we treat everyone with very, courtesy, kind, and respectful way. So now we get to our government services system, and this is where all of this, all of these things are happening. And we've made the taxpayer's job so easy, and they're so happy. And so you don't have to worry about those, but you do want the information. And that's where we have the government services system, which is an interactive cloud-based system portal. And that's where you guys would log in to access your information. I mentioned we have unlimited users. On this system, you have various reports that you can create. Everything's exportable, because the first thing I do when I'm asking IT to do something for me, because I know me, and other users as well, what do we do? Especially, when we're trying to forecast or do reports, can I export this to Excel? Because there's always something extra we want to do to a report. We always want to massage the data in just a little bit different way. So all of our reports are exportable to comma delimited, CSV, Excel, PDF. There's a couple of other options, but that pretty much covers anything that you would need. There's multiple search criterias, because you may be thinking, and we can do a full demo to actually go through some of the details of how you would view taxpayer account, taxpayer notes, delinquencies, things like that. We can go over that with you. Now, we've added a lot of new features in the last, I guess, 6 months to the government services portal. For business license, this is a really good feature and tool for you guys to have. So if you're using Avenue as an administrator, and Avenue to provide the online file and pay solution, and occasionally you do still have people that will walk in, and there's some of our clients that encourage that, and there's some that say, no, I don't want anybody walking in, and they have a sign that directs them to a kiosk to take care of their business, so they're not interacting with a person. But there's others that still want to have that that interaction. So we have the ability for our clients to accept a payment on site, and actually process it and print out a temporary a receipt that kind of serves as a temporary certificate for those business license people. Some of the more the local contractors might walk in, or just local mom and pops. But over time, we do see that will start to go down as people register and file online, and they're more comfortable with it. You're going to see that decline, but you do have the option to do that. This is a high-level overview of the reports that are out there. That we have new account listings, a dashboard report. This is a great report, because you think about this. If I don't know anything about cars. I know how to crank the car. I did learn how to drive on a stick shift originally, but I don't know if I could drive one today. But I know how to turn on the car and put it in drive and reverse, and I know how to put gas in it. But as far as what's going on under that hood, I don't know. I really don't really care, but I have a dashboard that tells me all the things that I need to know about, and I know how many miles I can drive. I know when if I'm running low on gas, I know my speed. I know if it's running hot. I know if my air pressure is low. So you've got that quick view on your dashboard. It's the same concept. So we have a dashboard reporting that will give you like a view of your top remitters, what percentage of the revenue they represent, the top business classifications and the percentage they represent. We have things like the history and trends report, the detailed payment listing, the transfer and distribution report, and delinquency report. And this is just a few of the reports and information we have for you online. We have business license year-over-year reports. But the great thing about our solution is these reports result out of real use cases from real people. Our clients have asked for things over the years, and we've been doing this for a lot of years, and we're like, okay, well, if this works for jurisdiction A, and this is something that we're like, oh, this could be used, many of our clients could use this. So when we create it and we enhance the portal, the government services portal, guess what? That client may have been the one asking for it, but you get it. So when we make these updates, you have the ability to access those same type of reports if need be. And then we also welcome a lot of feedback from our clients and recommendations. And if you request a report, we're going to think, well, is this something that we can do and load online, and then, or we can just, do like one-off reports as well. And that again is user-based and permissions-based. Meaning that if you have a person in one department that you do not want to see taxpayer-specific information, you can say, this person only needs to see the reconciliation report, which shows total deposits, and there's no detailed taxpayer information. We do that, so that's something we can definitely set up. So now I will turn it over to Laura to go over a few use cases.
Thanks, Christy. And after you hear Christy talk about the services that she and her staff provide, you can see why so many go with Avenue for this solution. A couple of the use cases that I just want to share, just to give you the breadth of who we work with. The entire state of Louisiana needed a one-stop shop for the processing and filing of their sales and use tax, occupational license tax, and hotel tax. And they brought that to Avenue, and we've been doing that since 2008. And, since that time, they have filed 18 million returns and processed over 14 billion right through this portal. And here in California, when they were the first city in the nation to tax on soda, they came to Avenue and asked if we could create a brand new tax type. And we have been doing that for them since 2015, along with the other cities in California who have this tax. Very proud of the flexibility of this system. And now Joe will tell us about the Avenue difference.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you, Christy, for that presentation. It's very good. What distinguishes Avenue from others? We are the largest company providing local government tax administration. As I think you could see in the presentation today, we process over $1.5 billion annually. We support and process 175,000 businesses nationwide and issue licenses and certificates. We're very proud of our customer retention rate. We focus on that diligently at 98%. And as Christy noted earlier, we are audited and we've had no exceptions noted over the last 15 years. And that's very important to us, and I believe to you as well. In addition to our tax services, as you've seen in the presentation today, obviously on the tax side, we do compliance auditing, we do misallocation, discovery, recovery, and other tax administration types of services. In addition to that, Avenue is a diverse company serving states, cities, and counties with other services and products like short-term rentals and compliance. We do imaging and indexing. We do IT managed services for cities and counties. We also have a court and jury and court management systems, and we also do library managed services. So now I'd like to get to our Q&A session. And the first question that has come in, I could pull up the Q&A. Question is, do you provide taxpayer communication in different languages? If so, which ones do you currently offer?
We do, and currently, the primary one is English and Spanish. And I should have mentioned it earlier, our call center representatives are bilingual, and if there is a need for multiple languages, we do utilize a translation service that we can translate into multiple, language as needed. Various areas will need different languages. So yes, that is something we do.
Great, thank you, Christy. The next question is, how does discovery and recovery fit into this process?
So discovery and recovery is hand in glove. So what I just talked about, those are the taxpayers that are known. They've registered or they're known about in one form or the other. Whether they've registered or whatnot. The discovery piece of it, especially for business license, we take the known database and we go out and we also use sales tax data as well. and we purchase data. We work with a lot of data vendors, and we look for those businesses that are flying under the radar. Either, for the most part, a lot of them just don't know. And others are like, well, I was just waiting on somebody to call me and, or contact me and get that set up. But it goes hand in glove, because once those businesses are identified, brought up to speed on their back taxes, and the goal is to get them current. The goal is to have them get caught up on back, start paying your current taxes, get caught up on your back taxes and into the database so that they're remitting on a regular basis. So if we're doing both, once that's discovered and identified, we're going to get them in the ongoing database. So you have not only the back tax revenue generation, you have the benefit of that go forward revenue as well. And then you're creating a level playing field for your businesses. So you don't have, one business doing the right thing and paying for their monthly or annual taxes and the other one that's not. I mean, they definitely have the advantage. They can charge a lower amount if they're not collecting the appropriate taxes or getting the appropriate license.
Great. Thank you, Christy. The next question coming through, I wanted to make sure I fully understand the business license aspect, is that Avenue Insight provides a full service of business license, meaning from application submission to approval to collection. Is that correct?
Absolutely. From, cradle to grave. So we're actually, issuing license. The Rolling Hills Estates license are issued from the Avenue system. They can be emailed or mailed to them in paper form. We do mail them in paper form. The business license are actually customized with like the city's logo and watermark in the background. And all of our clients are involved step by step to make sure that, we have the right logo and it's their look and feel and the messaging they want for their community. And if they, and then they have access to that renewal, later down the road if they need it for whatever reason. So yes, we are doing it from cradle to grave.
Great. Thank you, Christy. Next question, is the system able to produce a report of all the gross receipts for businesses who have a business license?
Yes, we capture the gross receipts, any deductions. It'll have the business tax type. So we'd be happy to do a demo for anyone that would want a more deeper dive into that, but we can actually show you some of the reports and how those are generated. And really, they're very simple. I mean, you could do it, from a tablet, an iPhone, or whatever. You can have access to that report information.
Okay. The next question is, what is the timeline for implementation?
Standard implementation is going to be around 90 days. We have done it faster, and then sometimes it has been longer. If it's like very customized and unique, and we talk about that, we say, okay, it might be 120 days if we're doing this, but we can do a phased approach. But I would say, in general, about 95% of our implementations are within a 90-day time frame.
Okay. And next question, what are the office hours of the customer service center?
It's whatever your local time standard office hours are. We're doing it, generally from 8 to 5. We do have people answering the phone from like 7:30 to 5:30, during normal business hours. And I know that was a really, we have some clients that are closed on Fridays, or they're closed every other Friday. We're not. We're answering the calls. So so just during normal business hours. And of course, they have ability to send email and get information online 24/7.
Okay. The next question, and thank you everyone for submitting these questions. Does Avenue take care of all customer service calls and emails? Can we completely outsource business license to you?
Absolutely. We do. We handle all of the customer support calls. I have a staff. That's what they do, is they're answering taxpayer support calls. And taxes is out of sight, out of mind. So when do we get our phone calls is around due date, the timeline. So I know that what you're probably experiencing when it's annual business license renewal season, everyone's calling because it's in front of them now and they're at the due date. It's the same, me of all people had to call the IRS on the 14th. I never got a hold of anybody with IRS. I had a question. I was just like, I need it, and I couldn't find it online. And but yes, needless to say, I still haven't gotten a call back from that phone call I made because I'm pretty sure they were busy. It was during COVID. But no, we do handle all of the taxpayer support calls, answering every question from how do I request a refund to how do I get a license today, or can I get a license today? So again, we'll build a knowledge base specific for our clients, and we have trained staff. I mean, in general, taxes are relatively consistent with some minor differences, but if you have that base training, it's really easy to get that other staff up to speed and trained. We have an average speed of answer of 20 seconds or less. We watch our call times and metrics, so everything is measured as far as metrics and call center support satisfaction.
Great. The next question: can the management system integrate with a local tax database that we already use?
Likely it can. I would have to know more about the specific database, but I mean, it could, API, however we set that up, yes, we can get that data uploaded and work with your IT department, see like what the file formats are or whatnot for that.
Okay. Next question is a little bit longer one. Okay. We currently handle business license in-house, and as you can imagine, very labor intensive around December time and through the year. We do not have contractor license aspect as part of our business license process now because contractor license is being handled by the building department, and we are finance handling business license. Can you handle the contractor license aspect as well?
So yes, we absolutely can. We do have a process that goes through an approval process, and we can process those payments, and the contracting department or building code enforcement would have a username and password for the government services portal. They wouldn't have access to the financial information, but they can see they applied for a license, and they can check and make sure on the map if they're correct, or if they have all the appropriate inspections, or if the fire planning. It's some people call it community development, others planning, others the fire department. So we do have a process to manage, so the system kind of manages it through, so it's not labor intensive, and depending on emails and things going back and forth, they just log in, they see that they're registered, and they can actually just click, yep, this business has done everything they need to do, they're good to go, approved. And I'm simplifying it, and that can be set up custom based on each city's need. I mean, we have some cities like, nope, we're not a regulatory fee, this is just a strict tax, we're a business license, and we'll give this information to the community development after the fact. But there's others that are very interwoven.
Okay, great. And the final question we have is, do you have the ability to import historical data from an existing data management system? We
do. Yeah, so that happens during the account setup phase. That's like step one when we're doing the implementation. We'll talk with you and we'll decide what makes sense for you guys. And if it's typically it's going to be a 3 to 5 year history that is imported. Okay, now it would depend on, like, I've had clients, I haven't gotten one of these in a while, but there are some clients that are still on big giant mainframe systems, and their data conversion came over with a disk that was like this big, and it was like one of those, I'm serious, like it was one of those that was like, I'm like, what do we do with this? But we figured it out. So it depends on the complexities of it, but I mean, we just implemented last year one that was on an old mainframe, and we brought in 5 years, so yes.
Okay, that's wonderful, Christy. Well, we want to thank everyone for participating today. We hope the information we passed forward was very helpful to you. One question that did come through, last one is, can I get a live demo of the system? And yes, we'll be happy to give you a 30-minute interactive demo on the business license system. You can contact Laura Burnett in Southern California, or myself, Joe Arbios, in Northern California. and we'd be happy to connect with you and set up a live demo of the business license system. With that, we'll give it a reminder that you will be receiving the slide deck from this presentation today, and also the video presentation as well. And we hope you found the information helpful, and Avenue looks forward to working with you to improve the efficiencies of your offices. Thank you very much.
Thank you.